Let's take a look at the current ranking as Rory holds the top spot and Rahm currently sits at 5th. Rahm had more strong comments before his victory last fall in the DP World Tour Championship, and he's just one of several big-name players who have been asked about the current system, including Tiger Woods at the Hero.
It's a flawed system. You know, that's something we all here recognize. The field at Dubai got less points than Sea Island, and more of the best top players were there in Dubai. So obviously there's a flawed system. How do you fix it? You know, those are meetings we're going to have. We're going to have it with World Golf Committee, and as well as the main tours are involved in it. And somehow come up with a better system that is in place now. I remember in my career when I had a big lead in my career and I didn't have to play a single tournament the next year and I still would be ranked number 1. We changed that system then. So it has been changed in the past, and I'm sure this will be changed hopefully soon.
And here are the highlights of the new world ranking system, which took effect in August, incorporating modern statistical techniques. Players now get a strokes gained world rating, which they contribute to every field they enter. The field's strength is now evaluated on all players, not just the top 200 in the ranking as previously. And minimum point levels, flagship tournaments, and home ratings are no longer needed. We're pleased to be joined by someone who knows how the official World Golf Rankings work better than anyone else, Mark Brodie, a professor at Columbia Business School. And Mark, you wrote the algorithm for these new World Rankings. Can you explain to us why the official World Golf Ranking decided several years ago that the rankings needed to be updated?
Well, I wrote a paper with a colleague, Dick Rendelman, in 2013, and together we showed that the official World Golf Rankings were biased. And we had hoped that would lead to some change, but it didn't. And unlike other papers I've written in the past where the conclusion is somewhat surprising, the reaction of many people was, yeah, we knew that, because there's many writers that pointed out the different flaws in the old system. So the reason for embarking on looking for a new system was the previous system was biased and inaccurate.
And you mentioned that specifically players going overseas to play. You said it was biased consistently against the PGA Tour. What did you find specifically?
So we found that in the top 200 players, there is about a 35 average ranking position difference caused by the bias. And the bias came from arbitrary elements in the old system, where these arbitrary elements were things like flagship events and minimum points, so that the points awarded for events didn't depend on who was actually in the field. And that led to this bias. And some of it was historical, that maybe some tours got more points because they had stronger fields years ago, but no longer did.
Mark, the new rankings have had some players defending it, a lot of players criticising it, some coming to that argument with their own agenda. But what do you react to it when you hear a John Rahm or a Tiger Woods say that the rankings is somehow messed up?
It definitely makes me sad, because I know and I can prove, and it's been independently validated, that the new system is more accurate and fair than the old system was. I wish that there is the same level of uproar week in and week out every time the old system gave, say, too many points to certain events and too few points to other events. So I think it'll take a while. That the new system is currently a hybrid between the old system and the new system. And I think, I hope players sort of see the unbiasedness and the fairness in the new system over time.
John Rahm is number 5 in the rankings now. He was also number 5 before he won the Century Tournament of Champions last week. And he made a comment where he said that he feels like he's the number 1 player in the world, but he's fairly certain that under the old ranking system, he would be a lot closer to actually being the number 1 player in the world. He's not really correct about that, is he?
Not exactly. So first of all, in the new system, when he won the Century, he got a boatload of points. And so he at least solidified his position his average points went up, but the ranking of a player depends not only on that player's average points, but the average points of players around him. And it also turns out that because of the vagaries of the old system, the way the points decay over a 2-year period, Jon Rahm will move from 5th to 4th this week. Colin Morikawa, coming in second, will move from 11th to 9th. So not only did they solidify their positions, but they actually did move up. And I took a look this morning at, if you ran the two systems side by side for the years 2021 and 2022, the average difference in the top 10 was less than one ranking position. So there is generally not a big change between the old system and the new system for the very top players in the world. The change, like I said, is less than an average of one ranking position.
Well, Mark, as you mentioned, this is a 2-year rolling system. Do you have a sense of how all the scenarios will play out over those 2 years in terms of how the system works, or could there be some surprises down the road?
I don't think there will be more surprises than we've seen. I think some of it, the reaction is, we've seen all the different kinds of events where the reactions have happened. So I think what you'll see as the system evolves is that I hope people will see the fairness in how the players are ranked the way they should be. One comment I also wanted to make about Jon Rahm and Morikawa, sort of the way the old system works and the new system with a 2-year rolling window, is Rahm and Morikawa lost the most points in 2022 compared to others in the top 10. And so in order to maintain their position, they actually have to earn a few more points to make up for what they were losing, more so than the other players. So there's a lot of moving parts in the system, and I think the more it evolves, I hope it'll become clear that the new system is better and more fair.
Mark, the criticism seems particularly sharp if a top player wins against either a weak field or in a small field. Is it because those tournaments are currently undervalued in the new system, or were they artificially inflated in the old system and created this perception that they ought to be worth more than they are?
I think they were artificially inflated in the old system, and you would have writers talking about the Hero World Challenge, for example, as a point grab that was only 20 players. And what you don't want in a system is for players to show up to an event and no matter how they perform, they rise in the rankings. That's an indication that an event is getting too many points. And that was, I think, a fair criticism of small field, no cut events like the Hero in the past. Now those smaller fields are getting fewer points, and they're getting a fair number of points. And the points that are paid out to the players in the event are such that the field as a whole will neither move up or down. The players who play well will move up. The players who play poorly will tend to move down, which is exactly what you want. You don't want it to be an extra bonus for playing an event like that where your performance leads to moving up in the rankings no matter what.
Mark, a Columbia Business School once referred to you as golf's unlikely celebrity. What's it like having your work scrutinized not by peers, but by jocks?
Well, I think it's, as an academic, my goal is to have ideas that have impact. And impact on jocks is as important as impact on others. So, like I said, I hope that people over time will realize that the new ranking system is an improvement, and it can't possibly be the case that everybody is losing out, which it feels like all the arrows are pointed at me, and that it can't be that the smaller tours and the bigger tours and the top in the world and the bottom in the world are all losing out. It just doesn't make sense.
Mark, what does it feel like to be the only man in golf who has actually united PGA Tour players and live golfers, even if it's only in criticizing you?
Well, the criticism certainly doesn't feel good, but I'm certainly much happier staying out of politics and live, especially whether they should be in or not in the rankings. I don't speak for the official World Golf Rankings, and some of those things are thankfully out of my hands.
We appreciate the education nonetheless, Mark. Thanks for the time. We'll speak to you soon.
Thanks, Damon. Thanks, Eamon.